How's it going? Thank you for the raid to both Will and Josh. It looks like we've got a banger tonight now that we got raided, so I guess we will just get right into it. And so today's lesson is going to be time management. What's bright? I know I'm pretty white. Alrighty. So, is everybody ready? I think I just want to dive into it since we're all here. I know I'm gonna lose people as the raid people trickle down, but yeah, let's get going. So yeah, it's good. This was SPT 2442's guy that suggested it. And then I guess Quixotic N is also excited. And then we got some followers. We got Newt Knits. Thank you very much. Count Chesticles. Thank you very much. And then in the last week, we also had Beth Mix and One Dumb Hick. And now we got Scrabble Kitty. Thank you. Lance Verrader, thank you for watching me for a minute. I appreciate anything I can get. Thank you. Yes, please follow me. Trying to build a following so that we can all learn something. Lance Verrader, thank you for the follow. You don't need to affiliate when? Oh, I am an affiliate. I just need to set it up. I'll set it up right after this stream so I can get subscribers. I am like I have all the criteria. I have enough followers and stuff. So I just forgot. So yeah, I'll set myself up as a and then yeah, so this is what we're gonna be doing. Yeah, no, you can sub me soon. Scrammin, thank you for the follow. What's my first emote gonna be? Ooh, what should it be? BK Chess, thank you for the follow. I'd imagine this is somewhat relevant to chess too, sort of. GTO related? Oh, don't worry. There's game theory tonight. I can't go a full stream without talking about game theory. So I'm not talking about chess tonight, but I do think these principles apply to chess. What do I know about time management? I think I know a lot. We got an O'Connor specialty with a blank burning quill. Yep. Yep. All right. It's time to get started. So, the general concept, we got online games. You can have any time control you want, right? But no matter what, you know, you gotta conserve it unless you're literally playing a game where you get unlimited time, right? And even if we're playing correspondence Scrabble, you probably don't want to spend 3 hours on a move. So yeah, right? In person we got like 25-minute games. Online it could be anything, but it doesn't really matter. The principles apply no matter what. And you're allowed to spend this time as you wish, right? You can. It doesn't matter, but if you take too long on one play, you will have less time for others. So the idea with time management is about accepting your losses so that you can have that time for the future to try to make a better play. And I think a lot of people do this subconsciously. Like nobody spends 25 minutes on the first play if the first if the first play they don't have any good choices. They don't like keep looking for a better one for 25 minutes. So I do think everybody gets the general idea of the concepts of time management. So yeah. So let us dive right in and I'm going to talk about diminishing returns. So this is an economic principle and it shows up in a lot of different cases. The Truth Main, thank you for hosting me. Right, so in economics, let's say I am building, I don't know, doors. Right, there's going to be some people willing to spend $1,000 on a door, some people 500, some people 100, right? And so if I only made two, we're pretending I'm not gonna be able to pull off price discrimination, right? And price discrimination is when you try to sell to different people for different amounts, and you can't really do that in the real world because you can't go to like Walmart and have the price tag say like 1,000th of your salary or something because it's not going to work because you don't know how much people make. So if I build two, I'm going to sell them for 1,000, and I'm just going to wait for the people that are willing to spend 1,000 on the door. And then if I make 10, I might have to sell them for 500 because there's 10 people willing to pay 500. And so the more I make, the less I get out of each one. And this is a common principle in all kinds of things. Like, let's say we're studying Scrabble words, right? You know, the top 1,007s are going to show up a lot. The next ones are going to show up less and less and less. It's kind of like the biggest holes in your game are going to be the easiest to plug. And then eventually when you get to my level, it's going to be all sorts of like little things that it's like, oh yeah, this concept here. And so the same principle is going to apply to your game of Scrabble when you're looking for plays. And the reason for that is because generally you're going to be able to, like, some words are going to appear to you instantly. You know, if we see this opening rack that I'm going to type in the chat, like, you know, there's 11 of those, and we all know them, right? They're going to come to us instantly because that's like it's almost a meme in the Scrabble community, right? But let's say we're looking for the 8s. Well, those might not come to us immediately. Those might take a little longer, but I doubt any of them are going to take, you know, more than a couple minutes if you know them. And that general principle, like once you sort of make one pass around the board, like let's say that you were doing like an Easter egg hunt in your lawn and you did a quick run through and you found like 10 out of the 15 Easter eggs. Well, the next time we're going through our lawn to search, we're only even gonna be able to find 5 because we already found 10 of them. And so that's the basic principle that applies to diminishing returns, and it's why I recommend not spending too much time on any one play before the end game. So yeah, and then just a little plug. I'm gonna comment my YouTube channel in the chat so that if any of you are interested, you can follow it. Right now I'm just posting the recordings of these Twitches. I might do some YouTube original in the future, but yeah, that's my YouTube channel in the comments. So if you could all subscribe and like my videos, I'd really appreciate it. I love this channel. It's a lot of work, but I think it's important to have someone be doing like educational stuff. I think that's a good way to bridge the gaps in order to so you can get to my level, which is important. I want to not be the best because it means I have competitors. I'm not the best, but I want to not be like the 10th best and whatever, 20th, whatever, in like the country or whatever. So yeah, thank you for the plug, SPT. I think maybe I'll do a lower level. If I keep getting people from chess, I might do a lower level video. Right now, this is for like the sort of people that have already dipped their. Not that this is completely worthless, but this is for people that dip their toes in the water a little. Just my market right now, because that's the people that have started to watch my videos. But I would love to do like a super, like a lower level one for beginners. Like, you say it's not until you look at a position for 5 minutes when new words start popping up that are better. Wow, that's too bad. So yeah, so let's talk about the importance of getting it right. Obviously, you know, in a perfect world, we would like to just make the right play on every turn. That's just not very realistic. Both we're humans, and we're gonna mess up in that sense, and then also we're playing in a time constraint game, regardless of if it's 30 seconds or 30 minutes. We have like a time constraint that is going to eat into us. So. One thing is that in the end game, if the end game is close and you blow it, you're going from 100% win all the way down to 0. So generally, you want to save time for the end game because if the end game is close, that is when the most win percentage difference is going to be on the line. Like even if you miss a bingo in the early stages of the game, it might only be 20 percentage points blown right there. And so yeah, so if it's a close call, if you in your head think of it as a close call, it probably is a close call. If you're deciding between 2 plays and it's a close call, it probably is a close call, and you should probably just put something down in order to save some time for the end game, because the end game is when it's going to be more important to get your timing and to just look for a while and just put a good play down. So I'm just going to show a quick position in Quackle that illustrates the point. So, well, technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry. There it is. Okay. So here we've got this opening rack. I can alphabetize it if you want. So we got E, G, Q, R, S, U, blank. And we basically have two different options that are going to be approximately equal in value. So we got squag, which is 34 and keeps R blank. And then we could also just exchange the G. And upon first glance, you might think that squag is clearly better because it scores 34 as opposed to 0. But the good thing about exchanging the G is if our opponent exchanges back, which is going to happen a decent amount of the time after we exchange one, we can get a bingo with a Q touching the double letter score and the double word score we got. So it's going to score about 100 points. And if they make a long play, we also have a chance at hitting a double-double. So it's a better leave than it looks. And so I'm going to sim it. I simmed this before I made the video, and it showed up, and it ended up close. And the point I'm going to try to, let's see if we can get a zoom in on the results. Can we? Let's see. Yeah, so I zoom in somehow. So they are simming neck and neck. Exchange G is showing up as 74-ish, and squag is showing up at 73-ish% win chances. And the point I'm trying to illustrate is that even though these two plays are completely different, they're actually pretty much the same if we're just looking at the raw value of them. And so if you're having trouble deciding between these two, my recommendation would just be to sort of pick one and put it down, because if you're having trouble in your head deciding what to do, that's a good sign that is actually a close call. And at this early in the game, we are just trying to get like decent plays down, because near the end of the game, if we have to make, I mean, we saw this in CL Smith's game, if you were coming from that, right? Like he had not a lot of time near the end, and then he made like a time pressure mistake, and he missed like diverse and desires, and so if he had taken maybe a little bit less time and maybe sacrificed like 2 or 3 points here or there, he might have had enough time to play, like, find a bingo there. And so that's sort of the concept we're going after here. So even though these two plays are very different, so some people, when they look for plays, they have trouble deciding between two very different plays. But if you can see that the two very different plays are going to be similar in value, then it actually doesn't much matter which one you do, as long as you pick one quickly, because we want to have a lot of time for the end game and the pre-end game, because in the end game and the pre-end game, there's the most win percentage on the line, because there's only a few plays left. And so there's a lot less potential for like variance after each play. So even though I personally think Exchange the G is going to be a hair better, due to the fact that if you're a longtime viewer of me, you know that after an exchange 1, your opponent's going to exchange a lot. So that's not being accounted for in the sim, and that's why I think exchange G is going to be just a little bit better. But if you're having trouble doing the math or deciding, my advice is to just pick one of these two plays, put it down, and save your time for later, because you only have finite amount of time. And in like a live NASPA tournament, it would be, yes, that's a great idea. If you're having trouble deciding, just do like a RNG in your head. It's not worth the time to feel all this indecision. So, you know, one great way to do it would be to have like a watch, and if the second hand is between 0 and 30, I'm gonna exchange the G, and if the second hand is between 30 and 60, I'm gonna do squag. Yeah, and so we got Cesar in the chat. Cesar says, yeah, that's what I do. And he also does it for challenges sometimes if he's not sure of a word. He doesn't want to get over phonied in any spot, so he uses random number generators. Right, so if you need to be 91% sure, then we just cut it to like 54 and 6, and the cutoff is different. Right? Like, you can do that pretty flexibly with your clock, with your watch. And yeah, so doing things, you do lots of random things. You used to do it with tiles. Yeah, and it's a great idea. A lot of people think, like, you know, Scrabble's so random. Why would we add more randomness? But the thing is, if you're acting randomly, you're going to be hard to predict. And so if we get into a spot where we notice that Cesar is never challenging there, then as the better player, we were going to phony him there. And if we get into a spot where Cesar is challenging all the time, we're going to play weird words against him to get him to challenge. But since Cesar is deciding randomly, we don't know what he's going to do. So we're going to have to play closer to an optimal game of Scramble. If you missed my my stream last week, Scramble is basically Scrabble, but we're going to force our weaker opponent to make bad plays in the rules of the game that we're setting up. And the reason why we're doing this is because in a game of Scrabble, the game theory optimal approach is not going to involve doing things like phonying or hoping your opponent misses something. But in reality, we know that our opponents are humans and they're imperfect. And so if we adjust the rules to say that our opponents must challenge a random amount of the time, then we get to start to see a GTO game that's built around phonying that more closely resembles a game of Scrabble with a lower rated player than the actual like box rules of Scrabble. And that's a really important concept. So yeah, that's good. You're all about rolling dice for decisions. That's going to be a really good thing when we're talking about time management, because if we're stuck deciding between two plays, we're going to sort of just have to pick something. And doing like a random number generator in your head, or using like the modulus of like your watch, or like the modulus of the something, you know, that's like a great way to just approximate making a random decision, and that's gonna be really good because you're gonna save time when you do that. So great idea, WTF. All right, so let's go back to my my PowerPoint. So is it this one? It's not this one. Things are going really well, Josh. Thank you so much for the raid. I got like 5 subscribers, just or 6 or 7, just from getting raided. Yeah, and thank you for having me. I enjoyed my piece of the sub battle. I enjoyed dropping the blank for the memes. I told myself I was gonna do it, and I actually did. So yeah. All right. So the importance of getting it right. We gone over this. So yeah. All right, so the next one is going to be searching for bingos. And the reason why we're talking about this is because this is a common situation where people get stuck. They're like, oh, well, if I can find a bingo, that's going to be like 30, 40, 50 more points than the play I'm currently thinking about. And that is that's definitely a great way to think about it. Like, if you think you might have a bingo and you can't see it, it's definitely a good idea to spend a little bit more time on that play because you're going to get like 50 more points if you find the bingo as opposed to just sort of having a blah sort of rack. If you have a blank, you know, it's going to take a while to go through all the different combinations of letters on your rack. And so you might get stuck looking for a bingo. And my only word of caution if you have a blank is that if you miss your bingo, if you miss a bingo, you're still going to have your blank for next time. And so due to the equity, it's not actually going to be that big of a sacrifice to miss a bingo as opposed to if you don't have a blank. So my recommendation is if you have a blank to maybe not spend as much time as you might think to look for a bingo, because if you have a blank, you're likely to get a bingo down in the next few turns even if you miss it. And so I would recommend maybe only taking like 2 minutes if you have a blank, whereas if you don't have a blank, you might just end up screwed without a blank on your next turn if you miss your bingo. So I would recommend definitely spending a little bit longer looking for a bingo if you don't have a blank on your rack. So yeah, let me see. What was my next slide? My next Quackle game actually. What was it? Okay, I got it. Okay, so yeah, does anybody have any questions? In the chat, I'd like to make sure I get questions. Windowsception. Yeah, I've been using Microsoft Edge. Alright, so does anybody have any questions? This stream isn't going to be that long, so I wouldn't mind answering a lot of questions. I would like to make it last an hour. All right, cool. So the next, do we get a question? Do I want to play you an Ultra Blitz? Sure, let's do Ultra Blitz after this. So yeah, knowing yourself is going to be another important concept in time management. And, you know, I'm a pretty fast player personally. I'm not accounting for the shame you would feel. You feel less shame being low. Aren't you going to miss a bingo if you're low on time, or do you not feel shame in that case? Do you not feel shame if you make time pressure bingo misses because you can blame it on time pressure? Oh, okay. I got you. So yeah, so all this is for an average speed player. You know, if you're a pretty fast player, in cases in spots where I say to not spend a lot of time, you can spend a lot of time because you're not going to use all your time. And if you play slowly in general, you might have to sort of speed up and give up a little bit faster because you don't want to run out of time and you want to have time for the end game. Yeah, I would do a sub match with someone. That would be fun. So yeah. All right, cool. So the next slide is going to be about the end game and the pre-end game. So yes, I know. I'm going to set myself up as a affiliate right after tonight. I just forgot, but I'm going to be I have the criteria. I'm qualified. But yeah, I'll just do it tonight, so I'll have subs. I haven't done that much stuff with this account, but I will VIP you. Okay. So the end game and the pre-end game is going to be really important for your win percentage. If you mess up in the end game, you're taking your win percentage from 100% to 0, or 50 if it's a tie. And if you mess up in the pre-end game, you might end up dropping from 100 to 0 if you make a particularly awful play. But it's a lot more common in the pre-end game to see drops from like 87.5% to 25% if there's one in the bag, because if you miss little things here and there, and the reason for this is because there's just not as much going on. Like, there's only 2 more moves left, which means there's not as many different things that can happen. And so basically it's going to be more polarized in the pre-end game because there's just not as much going on. Pre-end game's not a word. Oh. So my rule of thumb is to give yourself 10 to 15 minutes at the start of the pre-end game, and I know that sounds like a lot because it's around half of your time, but I'm a pretty fast player, so this might be more for myself. You might want to give yourself a little less time if you need it for earlier decisions. But yeah, it really is that important. And the thing is, if you get to this point in the pre-end game and the end game where you're either going to win no matter what or lose no matter what, then the time that you didn't spend in the earlier stages of the game probably wasn't going to matter, because if you're up 250, like, it wasn't going to get you much. If you're down 250, maybe you missed a bingo and then chaos theory was a thing, but probably it was less likely to matter. So I think it's best to sort of go through the beginning stages of the game pretty quickly and to just sort of have time for the pre-end game and end game, because when we get to this point, we can try to iterate through the entire game, and we can come up with, like, almost trying to solve the game. Yeah, do you have a better rule of thumb, Josh? I don't mind sharing it. Like, it's entirely possible you face a lot of difficult decisions at the beginning. I'm not gonna say to just short circuit yourself if you're actually facing a hard decision where, like, you have to sort of tough through everything to really think about the game conceptually. Yeah, that makes sense. So Josh says he thinks there are situations where you don't spend enough time early and you miss a bingo, and that could matter more than a pre-end game mistake. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that is true. But I do think in general the pre-end game is going to matter more than a slight mistake, like just sort of maybe like a 5-point mistake earlier in the game. So yeah. Yeah, thank you for your advice, Josh. That does definitely make sense. So yeah, the last things I said we wouldn't be able to get through this without a little bit of game theory, and I wasn't lying. So the last thing is going to be called the time sacrifice. Yeah, that's one way of doing it, but that doesn't help you with, like, complicated, like, overlap, parallel play type things. The only way to fix that is to just play a lot so you're seeing things. So yeah, so if we're making a tough decision, it's going to take a long time. And there's no way around this, because if it's a tough decision, we really have to just think through it. I do not lie. Yeah, I can't go through one of these without talking about game theory. Oh well. If we're making an easy decision, we can see it right away, but it's our choice. Like, I see the right play after 30 seconds, but I'm allowed to take 5 minutes to think about it if I want. I'm allowed to take 5 minutes in an attempt to mislead my opponent if I want. And the thing is, from my opponent's perspective, the thing is, the same play could be an easy decision or a hard decision, depending on what you even kept. So if we're gonna do something, if we're gonna slap down a play like X for 52 instantly, it looks like we're sort of just, like, slapping it down because it's X for 52, obviously, right? But if we think for 5 minutes, it might look like we were deciding. We might have been deciding between X and an 80-point bingo. We might have been looking for bingos, and that's going to strongly suggest we have the blank. And the thing is, if we strongly suggest we have the blank and our opponent knows this, they're going to exploit us by playing more defensively, and we don't want that if we have the blank. So the way we make up for this is that sometimes if we have X for 52 and it's an obvious play, we're just going to sit on our hands for 3 minutes, Maybe shuffle our tiles, look like we're thinking about something. Maybe like check the news, look at the crypto prices, whatever. And then we're going to play X down after 3 minutes or so. And the thing is, I think you should never touch, yeah. Well, if I did it, it would look suspicious. You'd be like, why are you touching your tiles all of a sudden? But someone else who's known to touch their tiles do it, like, you know. But yeah, so I'm just going to show you all like a position in Quackle, and I want you guys to go in the comments and just tell me racks where it's reasonable for me to make this play. So we're in Quackle, or we're about to be. So here's Quackle, and here's our rack, and we got this play Dad, and it scores 29. And I want some input in the comments as to different racks where I would make this play. And it would be the correct play. Yep, I did. You're not lying. I mean, those two are not necessarily mutually exclusive. You can definitely give yourself 10 minutes for the pre-end game and spend 3 minutes on an obvious play at some point. I wouldn't necessarily say that. It still might help you, even if you have to play a little bit quicker. But yeah, I mean, okay, cool. Yes, keeping D-A-N-A. Let's see. Does that? I mean, that works, right? Dad, dada. But I might play dad, right? They're pretty close. A-R-M-T. Is that? Oh yeah, mad is a better play. Maybe if we swap this M out for a D, dad is the correct play. Cool. Anybody else can give me a leave where I would play dad? It doesn't matter. It might be something with the blank. Please tell me something with the blank. Blank blank FF. Would that work? I think this would work. I mean, it's like we might play daffodil, we might play dad, but since dad scores 29 and keeps both blanks. So this is the type of play where if we, thank you for this one, Josh, because this is the type of rack where if we think about it, because we might have to think about if we want to play daffodil or dad. And so this is a tough decision, right? So this necessitates thinking for a while. Whereas with a lead like this, this is far and away the best play, and we could, if we wanted to, just slap it down because it's pretty obvious. So let's see, RRT blank. I think this might have been one of the leaves I was thinking about. Just to make, yeah, so there's no bingos here, but we might take 3 or 4 minutes looking for bingos if we had this rack. Right? Okay, cool. So now I'm player one, and now I'm player one's opponent, and my opponent has just played dad, and it just took them 10 seconds to play dad. So what do I think my opponent's leave is? Please talk in the chat if you got an answer. What do we think our opponent's leave is? Is it RRT blank? I don't think so. Is it? All consos, strong one-pointers. Yeah, it's something like that. All consos is a big one. Yeah, no blank. Maybe we're keeping duplicate type. Maybe we're keeping another A and another D because we're just trying to get rid of our duplicates. But if you notice, the common denominator, yeah, ADEN, is, again, just dropping our duplicates, right? But the common denominator is that it's an easy decision. And if it's an easy decision, we don't have the blank. Because if we have the blank, we're either deciding between dad and a bingo, or we're looking for bingos. Okay, so now I'm the person who played dad's opponent, and my opponent played dad, but it took him 4 minutes. Oh, addenda. Yeah, never mind. So we didn't keep ADEN. It's a good point. But now I'm Matthew O'Connor, the virtuous, and my opponent has played dad, and it took them 4 minutes. So now what do I think they have? Give it some join the chat. What do we think our opponent had if they took 4 minutes to play the word dad? Yeah, the blank. Right? The blank. Some power tiles. Yeah, not the X, but blank SE could be. They're pretty likely to get some sort of bingo with that. The Z, yeah, maybe, but there are a lot of easy bingos. There are a lot of easy Z plays, maybe. Or there are a lot of easy racks where we keep the Z because there's just nothing to do with the Z. But maybe. Ties always keep the Z. That's true. I like to keep the Z sometimes. For 4 minutes, they could have only reasonably had a blank or were stalling on purpose. Exactly. That is the point we're making here. And the big thing about this is that if you're not stalling on purpose and you take 4 minutes to play dad, you can only have the blank. That's not good, okay? If you have the blank, I'm going to exploit you by making a play like this, right? And now your bingo chance is suddenly going to go way down, right? So just going to do the math. I got shy, and the bot's telling me you're only bingoing 61% even though you have a blank. Like, that's not good. Past tense of what? The chat? Oh, on purpose. Chat is messing around. Yep. I knew that Josh loved Cesar. I don't know if that was supposed to be a secret, but I guess it's not anymore. Anyways. So does everybody get this whole thing? If we deliberately stall sometimes with a rack like, DART, then our opponent's going to be less sure, and they might block the board for no reason. And the thing about this is it's impossible to slap dad down in 10 seconds if we're keeping the blank, unless we're Nigel level and we can instantly see that there's no bingos. So we can't go the other way. So we're going to have to balance by adding some of the easy decisions into the long think, because hard decisions are going to automatically... harder decisions are going to automatically take a long time to just think through. So yeah. That is the basics on the time sacrifice. And this is going to show up. If you're a fast player, I would recommend just sort of mixing it in a lot. If you're a bit of a slower player, it might not be worth the time. For you, it means you forgot you were playing Scrabble. Yeah. But these like NASPA tournaments are like 25 minutes, right? So that's quite a bit of time. No, if you can get your brain to the point where you can see like a lot of stuff instantly and you have the time to sort of dick around and play slower sometimes, and I would highly recommend it. You don't, and it's protecting your range. You don't want to make it so that every time you're playing slowly, it's because you have a blank. Because a lot of the difficult decisions for us humans in Scrabble is like, we're looking for bingos. Maybe I was distracted making dinner plans with Matthew, who was already done with his game, so that I don't go to dinner alone. Oh yeah, that's another one. But that one's, I don't know. You might fake it. Would you fake it if like we already figured out dinner, but you fake it so that it's like mixed strategy? That's one way of doing it. But yeah, so I think that's all we got for the educational portion of the stream. So I think I'm gonna play Josh in Ultra Blitz if he's still down for it. Yeah, let's do it. Let me just move back to Microsoft Edge. Yeah, LC. So yeah. All right. Yep, match me. And this is another fun activity we can do. You already won tonight. I won as part of your team, so